Hello, hello. Uh, just want to say it's honestly one of the greatest honors for us just that you're all here today. We did this for the first time last year. We had no idea how it was going to go. And the reception was so great that we wanted to do it even bigger this year. So I just want to say thank you so much. My name is Anish. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Cortex. I'm joined by...
Ganesh, one of the co-founders and CTO of Cortex.
Look, a year ago, the world was a lot different than it looks today. MCP wasn't a thing. Coding assistants had just come out. We didn't know whether they're going to drive value or not. It looked a lot different. And so for our keynote today, we wanted to talk about one of the biggest questions our own customers ask us, which is, what is the IDP's role in an AI-first world? I think that anyone who's come to this conference today, you're probably asking the same question. And we're lucky enough that we've seen so many of our customers use IDPs in such interesting ways. We wanted to talk to you about what we feel is the vision for this market over the next 5 to 10 years. So before diving in, I just wanted to have a quick show of hands. How many just raise your hand if you've adopted an AI coding assistant on your team or your company has. If you look around, I think that was 100% of people here. And the reality of the market today is that, like I was saying at the beginning, the world has fundamentally changed, right? AI has really crept into every part of the software development lifecycle. And as a result, we have to really think, what is the role that IDPs actually play in this world, where AI is actually writing more of our code every single day?
So we want to start way, way back. We'll go back 6 years, almost exactly 6 years ago, by the way. Why did we start Cortex in the first place? This actually is a real picture of our first office, if you can call it that. It was a random bedroom in Anish's parents' house. So this was when we had barely raised any money, and this is where we were building the first iteration of the service catalog. But why did we start Cortex? It was really about the chaos that was introduced by microservices, right? We had seen the sprawl of microservices over a decade, and it was causing issues not just with software, but with people. Organizations had transformed, the kinds of problems we're dealing with were different, and Cortex was started to tame that chaos.
Here's the interesting thing. When we started the company, like Ganesh said, it was all about the microservices, and it transformed into all parts of your software stack. Right? Whether it's cloud infrastructure, APIs, all of these things have owners and context associated with them that was difficult to track. And that's really where IDPs kind of sprung up. The interesting thing about where we are today is that AI has only accelerated this chaos. Because it's not just about your services. Now you have agents running around. You have different models that people are testing. How do you keep track of all of that and actually ensure that your quality and you're still striving towards engineering excellence? It's actually harder than ever before. And we're seeing this across all of our customers today. The reality is we're writing more and more code with less and less context. And that context is especially painful then during incident management. It's during new engineer onboarding. It creeps up in all these moments, and it's just created this insane moment in the industry where we're all excited and jumping into the AI trend, but we also don't have context about what's actually being written. But here's the interesting thing that we think about a lot, is that if AI is contributing to the mess, well, can AI also help us tame the chaos? And in what you'll see with the things that we've been working on today in Cortex, we use AI to really accelerate and help us understand the ecosystem in a lot more meaningful way.
So why are we so confident that we can do that? Cortex has continuously redefined what an IDP is. In 2019, when we launched Cortex, there was no such thing as an IDP, but Cortex was the very first ownership-centric service catalog. We were the only one on the market to have an integration with Okta and GitHub Teams and all of your systems that actually had people and information about them. From there, in 2020, Cortex was the first to introduce scorecards and initiatives, which are now an industry standard. Every single one of you has thought about scorecards and used them to drive some sort of progress across the organization or is looking to do so. In 2021, Cortex was the first to bring infrastructure into the catalog as well. In 2023, Cortex was the first IDP to say, hey, those engineering metrics you care about, those should be in your IDP as well. Earlier this year, Cortex was also the first one to launch an AI-powered ownership prediction model. So trying to tame that chaos using AI, figuring out who actually owns things, and bringing clarity to the accountability. And so we've done this over and over again. We've redefined what it means to be an IDP, and we're excited to do that one more time. So let's go back to the very beginning of an IDP journey. When you think about why people are adopting IDPs, you might say, well, we want to drive action. We want to drive change across the organization. We want to give people self-service. We want to do all these things. But in order to drive action, you need to know what to act on, right? You need insights. You need to understand what the problems are. You need to figure out where the gaps are today. And so you're trying to collect those insights. But in order to get those insights, you need data. right? You need to figure out what is the baseline, what exists today, where are we, what is the state of our ecosystem. And so in order to drive action, we're actually starting with data. And that's where IDPs come in, right? Every one of you who has adopted an IDP has always started with the catalog, right? You want high quality data in the catalog. But the reality of it is it takes many, many months to collect this data. It is human driven. There's lots of manual effort, right? We have seen this, Cortex has been on the cutting edge of this, helping a lot of our customers onboard in the span of a few months. And that's considered great in the industry. I know there's a lot of folks that we work with now that we're on backstage. We continue to have these conversations all the time where I'm sure a lot of you will know this, but you're on backstage for 12 months, 24 months, and you barely have a working catalog, right? Data is hard. Data is hard to figure out, and it's a mess today in our ecosystems. And so we believe that we can do better with AI. So let's talk about how that is. So we're excited to introduce Cortex Magellan. Cortex Magellan is a transformational way of thinking about the data gathering process for an IDP. We believe that humans should not be the way we figure out this ecosystem, especially in an AI-first world. We've completely rethought what it means to get your data into the IDP, figuring out things for you as computers, as systems, as machines, to make that an instantaneous process. Let's talk about how exactly we do that. The goal of this, and what Magellan unlocks, is the ability to build your catalog in minutes, not months. And yes, I do mean minutes. And this is a very powerful thing when you're starting your IDP journey, right? If many of you have worried about starting your IDP journey because the catalog takes forever to build, you don't know what your data is, you don't know if your data is clean. We hear this all the time, right? It's the chicken or the egg. Do I get my data cleaned first and then use an IDP? Do I use an IDP to clean up my data? Well, now the answer is clear. Cortex will figure out your data for you. So you always start with the IDP. So how can we build your catalog in minutes, not months? We have trained a series of proprietary machine learning models on engineering data that can understand your ecosystem instantly. And this has been an effort over the last couple of years to understand how engineering data looks, what the shape is, how it all connects to each other, building behind the scenes essentially a knowledge graph of all the data in your engineering ecosystem. This allows us to intelligently map everything from ownership of services to their on-call rotation, to their work items, to code quality metrics, and so many more things to come. So it's not just about ownership anymore, like we launched at the beginning of the year. Cortex builds your entire catalog for you. And so I want to walk you through a demo, and this demo is going to show you the revamped onboarding process in Cortex, now powered by Magellan. It starts from the integration setup, personalizing your IDP, to actually the instant of building your catalog and then seeing what value you can get out of it right after that. So we're going to skip through a couple of steps here, but we're starting by logging into our workspace. This is the Cortex workspace. You can see it's already custom branded to IDPCON, but we're going to change that branding to be Cortex branded. So you can actually make your IDP your own. These things seem small, but they actually create a great user experience for your internal users. And you can see it come to life. We now have a Cortex branded IDP. We're going to skip the SSO setup for the sake of this demo. Don't do that in real life. And now we're going to connect version control, which is a source of truth for our repositories. You can see we have a variety of ways of connecting that data, but we're going to use a personal token in this particular example. And you can inline test that connection, make sure your integrations are valid, because Cortex has over 50 out-of-the-box native integrations, vendor-supported integrations. We're pulling in Teams from GitHub as well. And you can set up other integrations as part of this process, but we're going to skip that. At this point, we've scanned your repositories from GitHub, and we can select which ones we want to import. Let's go ahead and select those. And we've now created your catalog, right? We've built in all the repositories. And now let's map your people. So we figured out the identities of people across different systems, right? So who is a person from GitHub to Jira to PagerDuty to Slack? And once we've done that, we're going to create a single picture of that ecosystem for you. We finished mapping your identities, and that's it. Your entire catalog is built. We have figured out your ownership, your on-call rotations for each service, the Slack channels, the Jira project. That's it. That's all it takes to build your catalog. It is no longer a 6-month, 12-month process to build your catalog. It literally takes minutes. And so it's no longer a question of, do I start with an IDP or do I clean up my data first? Let Cortex do it for you. And so now your catalog is ready to go. So let's take a look at this in our service catalog. So we're going to go to one of the many catalogs we have here. So we'll go to the services. And we'll look for one of the services that we have. So we'll find our front-end app, which is rightly called Brain app. This is real, by the way. And you'll see additional information here has been mapped as well. We're pulling in monitors from Datadog because they've been tagged correctly. We're pulling in code quality, vulnerabilities from GitHub. You'll see the on-call rotation, the Slack channels, the owners of that service. So your catalog is done. And now, not only is your catalog built, you can actually start pulling insights from Cortex immediately. What you're looking at here, and we'll demo this later, is a velocity dashboard helping me understand where the bottlenecks are in our organization. And so the moment you're done importing your data, you're good to go. You're immediately unlocking insights about your engineering organization. This is how Cortex has transformed what it means to build an IDP from day one.
You know, one of my favorite stories about this product, 2 weeks ago, we had a now customer come to us. It took them 26 months to onboard to Backstage, and they only mapped 50% of their data. And I want you to imagine next time you go to whatever Walmart and you're buying something, and the guy on the register tells you, it's going to take you 2 years, and you're going to get 50% of the value after it's all done. You'd be like, what the fuck am I buying? You know what I mean? And honestly, it's one of those products that feels too good to be true, but it's just honestly, when you apply AI intelligently to the data mapping problem, I mean, honestly, we built, I think, the world's most intelligent mapping system, and it's just so cool to see it handle all sorts of different environments, integrations. Would love and excited for you all to try this out. Now, you're seeing engineering intelligence on the screen. You might be thinking, Anish, I'm not at fucking Engineering Intelligence Con, I'm at IDPCON. Why are you telling me about engineering intelligence? Well, I'm here to tell you that metrics do belong in your IDP. And we found, especially over the past year, working with a lot of different customers with engineering intelligence, about how valuable it can be to pair not only the metrics that show you everything from productivity to quality, but then also driving change. Because at the end of the day, that's what you're in the business of doing, is you want to see change with your developers. And that's exactly what we have done with our engineering intelligence product. And today we're also excited to announce a lot of out-of-box dashboards. You saw one that Ganesh just quickly pulled up on the screen. With Magellan and engineering intelligence, you get door metrics completely out of the box immediately, and advanced metrics explorers that let you drill and drive correlations across any of the metrics that are inside of Cortex. And the really nice part about this is you can save these as custom reports. You can use them in operational excellence reviews, in your developer productivity meetings. You can send it to the CTO so he stops bothering you about different metrics all the time. It's really, really customizable, but powerful and out of the box, which I think is the best part.
Are you telling me to stop using that BI dashboard that I'm paying for?
I'm telling you to stop pinging our engineers about different metrics because you have engineering intelligence now. And one of the things I'm really excited about is our out-of-the-box AI Copilot Impact Dashboard. Now, I remember 100% of you raised your hand when I asked you if you've adopted an AI coding assistant. I'm confident 100% of you are kind of like, is it really seeing an impact or ROI? I mean, I think we are seeing it. We hear engineers saying that it's useful, but what is the actual impact that these tools are driving? I think this is the million-dollar question that everyone is asking. And we're excited that we have an out-of-the-box dashboard that actually shows you adoption across all of your engineers on who's actually using these tools, what is the actual impact on your metrics. And by the way, the question isn't just about productivity, right? The question is, are our engineers shipping faster, but is it causing more incidents, right? Those correlations are extraordinarily important to understand, and Cortex gives you that out of the box, which is really, really cool. This is the thing I'm the most excited about, to be honest with you. We're also really excited to announce in research preview our AI Chief of Staff for engineering leaders. Now, if you're an engineering leader, in your day, you probably have 10 different questions about the engineering team, and this gets exponentially more intense the larger your team is. Are our tier 1 services that have higher incidents also seeing increased vulnerabilities? What are 3 things that I could do to improve deploy frequency for my team today? These questions, without something like Cortex, take months, sometimes weeks to months of investigation. They require digging through all sorts of different tools. Someone has to go and build all sorts of dashboards. You build the dashboard, it's immediately out of date. You need something real time that can actually help and advise you to build a quality of engineering excellence. And what we built with our AI Chief of Staff is exactly that, where you can ask Cortex questions exact where you work. It can be whether it's in your IDE or your favorite AI assistant. You can actually ask questions to Cortex and get answers in real time, backed by real data and reports to all of these questions. And it's honestly one of my favorite tools to use just to understand different metrics and come up with sometimes really useful advice too on how to improve the velocity and quality of the engineering team, which is really, really cool. Let's dive into a demo to see how it actually works.
We're going to do a live demo, so we're hoping this is not a meta situation because we care about quality at Cortex. But what you're seeing here is this is the Cortex UI. We're seeing a revamped dashboard experience for engineering intelligence. You'll see here that there's a few out-of-the-box dashboards that Cortex has already pre-built. And there's also a couple of dashboards that are hand-rolled. And so why don't we dive into the Copilot dashboard, which is one of the out-of-the-box dashboards that we have today. So you'll see a couple interesting things. I think one of the things that we have been seeing in the industry is that there's a lot of talk about the ROI of coding assistants. Candidly, we believe that in 12 to 24 months, we're going to be past that conversation. Everyone here has adopted coding assistants. Most people agree that this is going to be a core part of our toolkit. It's here to stay. I think we're going to be sticking our heads in the sand if we're saying, oh, we're going to pull those out of our ecosystem in a year. It's not. They're here, and we're keeping them. So now the question is, what does that mean for the business, right? Are we shipping faster? How do we reallocate capacity? How do we think about the effect on incidents and things like that? And so Cortex is going to answer those questions out of the box. So we're seeing here in this first chart the correlation between cycle time and the adoption rate for a given team. So you can see that teams who have higher adoption of AI coding assistants, in this case GitHub Copilot, do have a lower cycle time. But why don't we drill into MTTR for an example? Interestingly enough, there's not that much of a correlation, right? AI, regardless of the AI adoption rate, we're generally seeing kind of a similar amount. It's kind of spread out across different teams. Maybe that's because they're using Cortex, they're using scorecards to drive quality practices across the org. But there's all kinds of interesting things you can see here, right? We can look at the comparison between AI users versus non-AI users, so it's not just at the team level, but at the individual kind of user level data. We can even look at Copilot adoption. So of the seats that you've purchased for Copilot, what does the usage look like? Like, are people actually using it? Because one of the things that we hear a lot is like, we've given our organization access, but are people actually adopting it? How do we make sure that the whole team is using those tools that we've paid for? And so the Copilot dashboard actually gives you all this information out of the box. We looked at the velocity dashboard earlier, and obviously we have a lot of information here for the sake of demo data, but you can see everything from cycle time and the individual components of that cycle time to things like the correlation between PR size and review times, success rates, the throughput of our teams. But more interestingly, you can actually build your own dashboards as well. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this part of the demo, but you can actually drill into a wide range of metrics that we have out of the box. And the beauty of this, like we mentioned earlier, with Magellan, it does not take now months of wrangling to get these metrics. You connect your integrations, you let us ingest stuff, go to engineering intelligence, and these metrics are available for you to start pulling in. And that is the power of Magellan. That's the power of having all of this in a single platform. And so I'll show you one last example. We're going to look at a delivery health dashboard. This is a custom dashboard that we built. So here we're looking at things like work items completed, story points completed, or deployment frequency, trying to find correlations across these things. You can filter, you can slice and dice across different dimensions. And the really great thing about this is that this is contextualized with all the data that you have in Cortex today, right? It's the services, the tiering, the criticality. It's not just about teams and velocity, because that's meaningless. Right? What do those teams own? What are they responsible for? Do they own legacy services or new services? All this context is really important to understand productivity at its core. And with Cortex, you have all of that in a single place. We'll give you a quick demo of the Chief of Staff. So we've connected our revamped, rebuilt from the ground up query engine, which is basically a rebuilt reporting layer that provides access to all the data that's inside of Cortex. Everything from the metrics that we just showcased to the most granular level, to the scorecards, to the ownership of entities. And so here, we're asking a very simple question. Help me understand the DORA metrics performance for my team in Q3, and tell me where we're doing well, and tell me where we're not doing well. And because of the way that we expose this data and the context that we're able to provide, we're able to analyze things like, where are we good? Where are we not doing so great? What should we should be focused on? Looks like we should be focused on improving our cycle time. But let's drill in a little bit further. I want to know the correlations here. Are teams that are shipping faster actually seeing a longer MTTR? Like, are they just shipping code that they don't understand? Is there a correlation with incidents and your ability to manage those? And so these are the kinds of questions that are now possible to answer with the data that's in Cortex. And again, this is not just the data that's available in engineering intelligence with the metrics. This is combined with all the data that Cortex has available. So you can actually look at things like your scorecard. So for example, do services that have better scores in their scorecards, their production readiness scorecards, how do they look in their MTTR versus services that don't? Great question. You can ask those kinds of questions directly to your chief of staff. Again, this is a research preview. We're really excited to start opening this up to a broader group of people. Actually, this is a little sneak preview. I'm gonna cut back. Anish, I know there's a lot of people in the crowd here that are likely paying exorbitant sums for what I just showed. A bunch of charts and dashboards and metrics. They're paying a lot of money for this. Should they keep doing that?
I don't think so. I mean, imagine if I went to you and said, hey, Ganesh, here's your chart of deploy frequency. I need to double it in the next 6 months. How would you feel about that?
I'd look at you with a blank stare and be like, what am I supposed to do with this information?
That's exactly right. And I think it's one of the things that we talk a lot about here at Cortex, which is, especially with our customers, which is you do not pay for metrics, you pay for change. And I think this is a really, really important point that we want to make in this market, because I think for a very long time, we've just been paying for basically glorified BI dashboards that don't actually mean anything to your developers. Because at the end of the day, why are we interested in tracking these metrics? Why are we interested in actually correlating all these things? It's so that we can then drive developer behavior. And I think that's exactly why we're very excited that engineering intelligence is now free for all Cortex customers. There's no reason why you should pay extra for a bunch of different metrics. The really powerful part is about then understanding those metrics and using scorecards to actually drive change. And that's, I think, the power that our customers have seen with both scorecards and engineering intelligence. And now the AI Chief of Staff, by the way, which allows you to just dig in real time. And the most interesting thing, by the way, for us, when we've been doing this research preview, is the people who are most excited about this are actually non-technical users. Because now you don't need to log into Cortex or learn a new tool to get all of the power that Cortex provides. You can run entire initiatives, analyze data directly in your AI assistant, which you're already probably using every single day. And so it's definitely been something that was really, really transformed our business in a meaningful way.
And I just want to say that there's no catch. Everything I showed you, all the dashboards, the Chief of Staff, the Copilot Impact dashboards, all customers get access to it for free.
Hey.
Now, you might be wondering, maybe you're not a customer of Cortex yet, but you're still interested. You're trying to figure out what change you want to drive. Let's talk about what those people can do as well. One of the things that we constantly hear from a lot of the people we work with is, like Anish said at the beginning of the presentation, the world is changing rapidly. And engineering leaders across different industries are worried, right? Are we keeping up with the change? What does that mean for our organization? What does that mean for our teams? How do we adapt? How do we make sure that we're staying on the cutting edge? How do we compare to our peers? What are the benchmarks that we have? And so to answer those questions, we're announcing Braintrust, which is an exclusive invite-only community for leaders who are interested in being part of that conversation about the changing industry and how we can stay at the forefront of that. And so if you're interested in being part of the Braintrust, please scan this QR code. It is invite-only, and so we'll be looking at applications, there'll be referrals. So very excited. Everyone who's part of the Braintrust will get free access to engineering intelligence. Even if you're not a customer of Cortex, as long as you're part of the Braintrust community, you will get access to engineering intelligence, because we want to help foster that conversation about engineering and how it's changing in this world with AI. For eligibility, we're looking for CTOs, VPs of engineering, and other senior leaders. There's everything from roundtable discussions to a Slack channel, meetups, and more. And so if you're interested in getting access to engineering intelligence, and you're not yet a customer, well, you could pay for change with an IDP, or you could join the Braintrust as well.
And by the way, one of the questions we hear the most is, hey, I want to know how our organization is doing compared to others. And we will be releasing free benchmarking reports as well across a lot of different interesting heuristics, everything from AI adoption to just general productivity metrics. And you get that for free as well. So we're super excited about it. The next product that we're super excited to share with, and you might be thinking, okay, we have the AI Chief of Staff. That's clearly for managers and leaders. What about for developers? Well, for the past few months, we've been beta testing our Cortex MCP. And honestly, if you ask any person who works at Cortex here, what is the most exciting product launch we've had? Honestly, it's been the MCP server. I mean, it has just totally transformed the way developers interact with the product. And it's just made certain key moments where it's high stress that much easier to resolve. One of my favorite examples is incident management. We see this all the time. There's a big incident. Well, with Cortex MCP, you can now ask, hey, what was the latest deploy for the IDPCON backend service, and who's on call for it right now? Getting this information during an incident is stressful. You have to dig through a bunch of different tools. People are yelling. There's fires everywhere. In Cortex MCP, you can get this information the same place you're trying to fix the incident, which is super, super powerful. and just continues to give you the full power of Cortex directly when you need it. You also can make sure that your standards are being adopted in real time as you're building, right? Ensure my PR meets all my costs and security standards. Cortex MCP will actually go in and look through all your scorecards. It'll come up with an actionable plan to make sure that is your PR meeting your standards, and if it's not, here are the steps to actually go and fix it. That is really, really powerful. I know a lot of you are rolling out coding assistants right now. We have a lot of engineers who are shipping a lot of code, sometimes code that they don't fully know, but hey, AI wrote it, so it's probably good. The question that I'm sure everyone else is thinking, we're shipping more, what does that actually mean for our customers? What does that mean for reliability? What does that mean that we're keeping engineering excellence at the highest it can be? Well, with Cortex MCP, you don't have to give up that reality. You can ship twice as fast or however fast you're shipping with your coding assistant while meeting all your standards. And I think that's the most exciting thing that we've been seeing with our customers who've adopted this.
And it's a very simple idea, right? If you have your standards defined, why not give your agents those standards, right? So that they can follow those standards while they're writing code before that PR is open in the first place. So I want to talk a little about the state of the industry. So I'm excited to announce the Cortex Engineering Leaders Survey of 2025. We wanted to know what engineering leaders thought about the state of AI, the risks to their business, what they're most concerned about, the adoption, the understanding of the impact. And so I wanted to walk through just a couple really interesting insights that we learned from the survey. 75% of engineering leaders surveyed only have anecdotal evidence of AI impact. They all said they believe, this is kind of like vibe feeling, right? They believe that there's impact, but it's just anecdotal evidence, 75% of them. 70% rank security and quality regressions as their top concerns, right? People are worried, are we shipping, is there more risk to the business, right? Are we shipping things we don't understand? Are we leaking secrets? Are we introducing new vulnerabilities that we don't understand? Are things moving back in time, right? Are we making the code base worse? And finally, 100% all agreed that security, testing discipline, and ownership clarity are requirements for scaling AI safely. And if you think about this, it's kind of intuitive, right? Like you don't want to build a whole bunch of new features and new code on top of who knows what, right? But if you have clarity about ownership, you know who's accountable, which humans and which teams are accountable for your services, if you understand that there's good discipline around testing and maintaining quality, if you understand that there's a baseline of security, well, yeah, of course you can be more confident that as we write more code, we'll understand it, we'll figure out what's next. And so what does this mean for you all? How do we think about how this reflects in Cortex and how can IDPs help? We believe that as part of this new world, IDPs are going to play an even more central part. IDPs will allow us to actually roll out and adopt AI with confidence. We think about this in 3 pillars. Readiness. Is our organization ready for AI? We think about it from a maturity standpoint, which is, are we paying a bunch of money and we're not getting the most of it? And the third piece of it is impact. What does it actually mean for our business? And let's talk about each of those things in a little bit more detail. So this is the Cortex AI Excellence Framework. And this is going to be a continuously evolving set of concepts and capabilities inside of Cortex. So the first one is AI readiness. Like I mentioned, AI readiness is about adopting AI on a stable foundation, right? AI is accelerating everything. We're writing a lot more code. We're moving faster. But how do we do that on a stable foundation? You have to make sure that if something goes wrong, you understand who's accountable for it. You understand that there's alerting and monitoring, and all the things that we cared about from a reliability standpoint are more important than ever before, right? Because if we understand less of our code, the practices that make sure we can figure out how to mitigate those things and catch issues becomes more and more important. Security foundations, right? We've all been trying to shift security left. Things like vulnerability scanning adoption, resolving critical vulnerabilities, secret scanning, and so on. That stuff becomes even more important in a world where AI is accelerating everything. So with AI readiness, you can make sure they're adopting AI on a safe foundation. The second part of this is AI maturity, right? You've adopted a bunch of AI tools, but the reality is you're not going to get the entire organization to be on the cutting edge all the time. You can't expect that of people. But what you can do is show them the path to making sure that they're staying on top of things and adopting the cutting edge. And so you can use Cortex actually to optimize how people are using AI across the organization. This is everything from adoption of standard AI prompts that you've defined within your organization, adoption of the right models, Are you providing the right agent instructions inside of your repositories? If you're adopting AI review, like coding review assistants, are those enabled for each of your repos? So are you just paying for tools, or are you actually driving adoption of those and making sure that you're getting the most of the tools that you're paying for? And then finally, AI impact. How much is it actually impacting your business, right? You want to prove it with numbers. Enough of the vibes, right? We want to talk about the impact on velocity, on reliability, on incidents, on quality. And each of these three are now available in Cortex. There is an out-of-the-box scorecard for AI readiness. There's an out-of-the-box scorecard for AI maturity. There's an out-of-the-box dashboard for AI Copilot impact analysis. And so with Cortex, you can now adopt and drive AI excellence across your organization. And I think this is, I want to call this out very explicitly to this group, because I know one of the questions that you guys all deal with frequently is, hey, we've bought into the IDP. How do we convince executive leadership that we should adopt an IDP, right? That is a conversation that I think many of you have had with your own leadership. And I think this is the answer. We can't be just rolling out AI willy-nilly, right? Every engineering leader is worried about what that means for their business and their customers. And so the IDP is actually a way for you to roll out AI with confidence. And so this is a way to actually drive adoption, to drive executive alignment within an organization for your IDP initiatives.
You know, when we started Cortex 6 years ago, it was really at this tail end of this 10-year journey of companies adopting service-oriented architectures. Right? Microservices had become popular, and suddenly every organization was saying we needed a service. We need to break up the monolith, and you started seeing all sorts of crazy shit everywhere. I used to work at Uber, which is the biggest culprit of all, and then all this stuff. And the reality of it then was that every company that we spoke to kind of was dealing with a big mess, honestly. And that's what we viewed our business as. That's why things like Magellan are so important, because it allows us to come in and give you an accurate view and visibility into what that ecosystem looks like. Well, the difference here with this movement is that we're here right at the beginning. And the biggest thing that we're seeing is companies who are buying things like GitHub Copilot are also rolling out Cortex MCP at the same time. Because just so that we can have developers ship faster, we still need to maintain our culture of excellence and quality. Those two things can come hand in hand. And that's the role we see Cortex playing over the next 10 years, is starting right at the beginning of this, is what we feel is the next technological wave, and playing a very mission-critical role in it. So thank you all so much. We're super excited for the day. We have amazing talks from a lot of our own customers about their experience rolling out IDPs, what operational excellence looks like at some of the best companies in the world to do it. We have amazing workshops as well. And of course, we're going to be here all day, so any questions you have, feel free to grab one of us.
Yeah, find a demo, or if you're interested in seeing any of the stuff we just talked about today, feel free to grab one of the demo stations. Once again, we're really honored that all of you came out. I know a lot of you have flown in from all over the world to be here today, and I'm really excited for the future of IDPs, and thank you all for being a part of this journey. We're really excited for the rest of the talks. We'll see you around. Thank you.